there's a lot of sympathy for animals, but not a lot of empathy.
Was it hard as a foreigner to actually run a shelter here?
Foreigners will come in and say, oh, we're going to save all these animals, we want to save the world, and then, they're here for a year and they don't really do anything. Some of the foreign involvement, and it's not really a xenophobia thing, it's more just watching this crappy behavior from foreigners over and over and over again. They feel sorry for the animals, but they're not really thinking about what the animal really needs.
If you're an animal lover, you're going to love PAWS Bangkok, a non-profit organization founded in 2012. The woman who started it all is Amy Ann Barron. PAWS Bangkok actively helps the local community and its animals through spaying and neutering operations, vaccination programs, veterinary services, fostering and adopting, and also, most importantly, through education. As a qualified veterinary technician from the United States, Amy traveled to Thailand and started volunteering in 2008. But when the organization shut down, she raised money and bought the equipment needed to start PAWS Bangkok. Today, she joins us in our podcast to share her story, perspective, and experience as an expat running PAWS Bangkok and a non-profit organization in Thailand.
Over 75% of the people watching this video are not subscribed. Could you please take a moment to subscribe to the Thaiger Podcast? It would really help us out.
Can you first start by introducing yourself to us, please?
Well, my name is Amy Barron. I'm from Los Angeles, but I've been in Thailand forever, and I run PAWS Bangkok.
So can you tell us a little bit how PAWS Bangkok was created or started? Was it from passion or from where?
It was from me needing something to do. When I came out here, it was to volunteer with another organization called SCAD, which was Soy Cats and Dogs.
Okay.
It had originally started as Soy Dog Rescue in Bangkok, and was a predecessor to Soy Dog Foundation from Phuket.
Okay.
And but eventually became Soy Cats and Dogs, and I came here to volunteer for them. Eventually ended up working for them, but in early 2012, it was announced that they were shutting down. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? So I raised the money to take over the cat center, because they had a separate dog center and a cat center. And I mostly worked out of the cat center. So I raised the money, took over the cat center shelter, and here I am 10 years later.
But what is your background, though? Were you already working with animals before, or?
Originally, I was in computers and in .coms, but I don't like them and I'm not very good with them. But
Okay.
So I became a registered veterinary technician in the United States, and I actually mostly worked with horses.
Okay.
Horses and large animals. For a while, I even worked with poultry. But yeah, I mean, I wanted more small animal experience, more companion animal experience, and it was coming overseas to volunteer was a good deal, because that way I could kind of avoid the politics of working in the veterinary profession in the U.S. Plus so it was just it was a really good opportunity, and I had been looking at places in Honduras and Mexico, Lebanon, and a cheap ticket to Thailand came up, and there's this opportunity, and I'm like, woohoo! I'd been here before. I'd been here, mid '90s when they were still building the SkyTrain on Sukhumvit. Yeah, Osok was like the end of the world. This was like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Back then, but. it's just it's a great city. I mean, I like cities. I like big cities, but you can also get out of the city. You can kind of do anything you want, live any kind of life you want. So, so I love Bangkok. And
That's great. And then you've been living here ever since.
yeah, so yeah, I was planning to come stay for a year, and 14 years later, here I
You're
am.
still here. You must
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
But when you first came and volunteered, what was the scope of work that you had to do?
I was just volunteering as a veterinary technician or veterinary nurse. Taking care of the animals that lived in the shelter, also assisting during spay neuter surgeries.
So that was how PAWS was started, right? Because you took over what was closing
Right.
down.
Yes, because during 2011, SCAD had moved into, they had built a dog center out by the airport, and then the cat center on Sukhumvit 93 in a 5-story building. And I was mostly working out of the cat center. I love dogs, don't get me wrong, but cats present their own challenges. Something we like to say in the veterinary field is cats are not small dogs, and they have their own unique challenges. So a lot of people believe you can just put a whole bunch of cats in cages because they're small and they don't need a lot of room. Well, that's not the case. Cat disease, dog diseases tend to be, at least what we see in the stray population, dog diseases are, they get sick and it's obvious, but cats hide. I mean, cats really,
That's
really
very
hide
true.
illnesses. So it's just a different way of communicating, and I think I'm good at it. So when SCAD announced that they were going to shut down, I'm like, oh, I need something to do. So I took over the cat center to try to maintain the same programs.
So is there, other than the reasons you stated earlier why you took over, but why just cats? Why not look into the dogs as well?
We've actually helped a few dogs, and we've helped some rabbits and guinea pigs. The challenges are different. You do need a different kind of space. We were not supposed to have dogs in our building. Not that stopped us, but the challenges are different. The financial challenges are different. The cats are easier to rehome. I mean, but and not to say that I'm not a dog person, but again, cats I understand a little bit better. I've been certified by ISFM, which is sort of the international, feline medicine body. I'm certified as a feline nurse through them, and I'm working on my diploma in feline nursing from them.
Wow.
So it's just cats have a different psychology, and they just bring me a lot of joy. I mean, so do dogs, but and cats do present a different challenge for Thailand. I mean, the cats are actually, a pretty necessary part of the ecosystem here in Bangkok. You go to parts of like New York City and you'll see, rats the size of a chihuahua, run.
I've heard, but I've never seen it
Yeah,
myself.
I saw one like running down the street with
no.
a piece of pizza,
Oh, no.
we do have mice here, but you don't see the huge rat problem.
no.
And given the amount of food waste, you would think that there would be a much, much bigger, and cats are part of that. Also snakes are part of that, snakes and monitor lizards. But, cats are part of the ecosystem here in Bangkok, and the challenges of working with them is different. Dogs present a different problem in that they tend to be more dangerous. They can be dangerous, although Thai dogs are pretty friendly. Thai dogs are generally not raised to be aggressive.
Yeah.
So, dogs are also the rabies reservoir, and so rabies control is a big problem for dogs. But again, and also resources, not to say that it's cheap to take care of cats, but the financial resources are different.
And I think they take less space as well. And I think if you focus on one species, you can give more, help out more, I
Right,
think,
right.
as well.
I do think that's true. I won't say that they need less space. I Yeah, I mean, they do need less space, but at the same time, they need space. And to give them good welfare and the welfare that I I don't want to keep cats if I can't give them good welfare.
Yeah.
And one of the problems you see here, it's actually a very big problem, is that you'll see lots of hoarders. There was one on the
It's on the
news,
news all
yeah,
the
with
time. Yeah.
60, and I work with a lot of people in a lot of Thai rescuers,
Mm-hmm.
and we're helping out all the time to deal with cats that have come from hoarders. Where do we put all these animals? So the hoarding of cats is a huge problem. And
We see
so
that every few months on the news.
yeah,
Like
yeah, and
60, 50, and then they leave
mhm,
them to like
die.
fend for themselves, and then they start feeding on themselves, like
Yep,
on the
yep.
dead body. It's very sad.
And I mean, I can point out like 11 cases right now of hoarding houses
Oh
that
no.
are just in a situation where we can't do anything about it right now because we don't have the access. The law doesn't allow us to go in there. And generally, the police, if they know about a situation, and if it's in Bangkok City, it would be the BMA. If it's
Mm-hmm.
outside of Bangkok, it is Department of Livestock Development.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Generally everybody wants to go in and help these animals, but the law is clear and sometimes you just can't. So hoarding is a big problem
I feel
here.
like it would be better for them to just let them go free
and
than just
that's
hoard.
and that's where we run into the problem, is that and it's an assumption, and it's not just made by Thais, it's made by foreigners here, is the assumption that every animal needs a home, or
Mm-hmm.
home as we think of it. But the thing is, these cats are community cats. They belong in the community. And it, one of the challenges I find here, Thais love animals, and it's one of the reasons I've stayed, is because this is a very animal friendly country. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the challenges, and is a challenge in many places, is there's a lot of sympathy for animals, but not a lot of empathy. So people, and again, it's Thais and foreigners, are not at a point where they feel sorry for the animals, but they're not really thinking about what the animal really needs to have good welfare, to have a good life. And putting it in a hoarding house, or having it live in a cage for the rest of their lives, or in a shelter full of diseases, that's not good welfare. The animals are better off out in the community, and where they can survive, either through interactions with humans, or they survive on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And what we can do to best help these animals is not take them and put them in nasty places. I like to call it incarceration,
It's
basically
pretty much.
yeah, putting them in jail.
Yeah.
We don't want to incarcerate these animals. We have to understand that the community is these animals' homes, and these animals have been there for 50 years. This is not a new problem. There are 50 years worth of, generations and generations and generations of these animals. Now, what we can do to help is to get the animals desexed, to make sure that the colonies are healthy, get
Mm-hmm.
them vaccinated, and to try. And one of the things that PAWS Bangkok does that I'm really proud of is we try to provide as much medical service as we can to these community animals. And I think people are very grateful to that. We have lots of people who are feeding stray animals, but one will get sick, and a lot of them don't have the wherewithal to get the treatment
Yes.
that they need. And so that's really one of our focuses, is trying to help
Mm-hmm.
give care to stray animals. Some we can do medical care to stray animals, some we can do in house. We have a full-time veterinary staff,
Okay.
and some we can do in house, and then some we send out to outside hospitals,
Okay.
depending on their needs.
So, from what you describe right now, PAWS Bangkok seems like an all in one center for cats. you provide medical service, you shelter them, you feed them, you adopt them out. So before it becomes this well organized, let's say nonprofit or a
I don't want to
shelter,
say it's organized.
it sounds
Yeah.
like it's everything is in place for it. Was it hard to implement and put everything in place? Because as a foreigner as well, to start, okay, not really from scratch because you took over
Right.
SCAD, right? If I'm
Yeah,
not
scam.
wrong. But still, you still have to run it yourself and through your own connections. Was it hard as a foreigner to actually run a shelter here?
Yeah, I mean, just as a lot of things are, there's always
Because
learning
people
curve.
are more used to, like, okay, foreigner running companies, running
Right,
businesses.
right.
But when you say a foreigner runs a shelter, they're like, oh,
Well, honestly, I mean, all the big organizations here are typically run by foreigners. Soy Dog Foundation, I don't know that they even I mean, in their veterinary services, all the veterinarians are Thai. Their veterinary services and welfare services here in Bangkok are run by a Thai veterinarian, but the overall, corporate structure of Soy Dog Foundation, which is the biggest organization in Thailand, if not one of the biggest organizations in Southeast Asia, is entirely foreign. So, yeah, a lot of the organizations here are run by foreigners. The biggest challenge I've had in a way is really trying to integrate with the Thai community. And a big part of that is my lack of language skills. I'm trying, but this
it's not an
language just,
easy
no,
language.
it's not. And, I'm older and, when you get to be about 50, it's not as easy. And, maybe I'm not very smart, but
Oh no, it's a very
the,
tonal language, first of all.
right,
So you
right.
get confused with the similar words, but totally means
Right. The
different.
tones, and I don't
Yeah.
hear well, so that doesn't help. My receptive skills are pretty good. I'm actually reading. I can kind of understand what people say as long as they're not speaking too fast.
Yeah.
But being able to produce the language is a lot harder for me. But I've been taking some of the intensive courses from Chula, and I'm actually about to restart. So I'm really trying to improve my language skills because that has been one of the barriers I've had. But and the thing is, a lot of foreigners will come in and say, "Oh, we're going to save all these animals. We want to save the world," and then they're here for a year and they don't really do anything. And so I think, especially among Thai rescuers and Thai veterinarians, there's a lot of skepticism about some of the foreign involvement, and it's not really a xenophobia thing. It's more just, watching this crappy behavior from foreigners over and over and over again.
But it's interesting that you're saying that Thai people are skeptical towards foreigners, because a lot of our viewers, because
Hmm.
I'm a vocal person about how I love animals,
Hmm.
and a lot of the comments usually say, "Oh, then why don't you try to do something about the stray animal problem? What about why don't you adopt more cats, or help with the stray dog problem?" But I feel like it's more complicated than that, and
It's
people don't
much more
really
complicated that.
understand, and they're like, "Oh, why would you let them roam the streets then?" But me as a single person
Right,
in
right.
Thailand, I can't do much. So you, which is involved in this scene, in this community,
Hmm.
how would you say that people can help and really fix this problem in Thailand, which is a huge problem?
Well, my answer to this is probably not the answer that people expect. First, my first answer is to temper your expectations, to basically challenge your assumptions about stray animals. Again, these animals have been strays in living in Thai communities for well over 50, I mean, forever.
Mm.
Um, and so people need to challenge their perception of what animal welfare is. They if you want to help animals, you need to learn about animal welfare. I truly believe that you need to learn what animals need. And as bad as it makes us feel knowing that this cat that's growing up on the street might get hit by a car, is it really a better life for them to live incarcerated in a hoarder's house or in a cage and in a filthy shelter?
Mhm.
So, what if the first thing that people need to do really is to kind of look inwards and challenge their assumptions about what they think might be what our knee-jerk reaction is to what might be best.
Mhm.
And yeah, this is not a simple problem, but something that a lot of people, like for example in the United States, the numbers have gone down dramatically thanks to some really just genius research in shelter medicine and animal welfare. I mean, the best research in this is coming from the United States. The People in the United States, for example, you find a stray cat, people take it to the shelter. You find some stray kittens, you take them to the shelter.
Mhm.
What's going to happen to those animals? Oftentimes, especially in some jurisdictions, it's almost automatic euthanasia. So they're just going to take them and put them to sleep, right? Here, obviously, culturally, we don't have that option, but it's not a good option anyway.
Mhm.
Removing animals from the community is not a good option. Not only are you uh, often putting the cats into situations where they have, worse welfare, you're creating a vacuum. And nature abhors a vacuum. So whenever we remove animals from the community, dogs or cats, we're just going to get more moving in.
Yeah.
And when you've got unstable populations, you run into some problems there. So in general, what I say to people that want to help animals is to, ask questions and to challenge, what you think might be right. To ask, how can we help, as
Mhm.
opposed to rescue this animal.
So most people, I would say, they wouldn't think of rescuing. So
Hmm.
let's say if a Thai person or even a foreigner, they walk past a cat or a dog, they
Hmm.
would be like, "Oh, I'll feed it." But then it causes problem to other people like, "Oh, if you're going to feed it, why don't you just adopt it cuz now it's just being here waiting for you to feed it." What do you think about this? Is it the right approach to trying to help an animal?
I think feeding is fine as long as you're doing it in conjunction with desexing these animals.
Mm.
Not only does desexing not only does it, control the population, especially when you've got animals that are well fed, they're going to be having larger litters.
Yeah.
It, you're going to also decrease the nuisance behaviors, the cats screaming at night, the breeding, the kittens that, you're worried about getting, so, there's absolutely no downside to spay neuter. And if you're feeding communities of cats, I think you need to look to getting those animals desexed. And of course, I say that, and it's actually not easy to do. You
Yeah.
have to catch them, you have to get them to a service that's reasonably priced to get them desexed.
Even though it's much cheaper here than in the West, I think, like desexing
Yeah, I
them.
mean, it really it runs the gamut. There are organizations that will do it for free. We do it for free. Soy Dog Foundation does it for free. There are vets that do it very inexpensively, for stray
Yeah.
animals, maybe 500 baht per animal to
Mhm.
1,000 baht per animal, depending, female, male, size, whether it's a cat or a dog. But then you go to some of these hospitals and they'll charge you 6,000 baht, which is more expensive than some
Mhm.
places in the United States. So,
Yeah.
so it really depends. But
I know exactly where you're talking about as well with that 6,000 baht.
yeah.
But yeah, some places are ridiculous. I agree.
I mean, one thing that I would like to encourage is that all hospitals do it at a reasonable price.
Especially for strays.
Yeah,
I
for
feel like
straight.
at least you're helping providing a solution to the
Right, right.
problem.
And one thing that PAWS has done that I'm proud of is that we have worked with some young veterinarians
Mhm.
in getting them to learn spay neuter and to become skilled at it. Doing spay neuter for all animals is really, it's a good thing. It helps. It's healthier for them. They don't develop certain cancers. They don't get breeding, sexually transmitted diseases, which do exist in animals. And it's financially for veterinarians to do it. It's easy. Once you do it a couple times, you actually get really experienced, and you're basically doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I think, especially with as many veterinary clinics, we'd really like to see them all doing spay neuter for at a reasonable cost for stray animals.
That's good. I hope they take this into account.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, force anybody to do anything.
I know a few that already,
Yeah.
providing it at a...
And many clinics are starting to really focus on doing this for stray or for...
But then again, some are businesses and you can't really...
Right. Well, especially, when you have a big fancy hospital, you do have a lot of overhead costs. So, it's not going to be, financially feasible to do, gold standard surgeries for every stray animal that comes through. Whereas, smaller clinics can move a little bit faster and can still do very good surgery. And so, that's what we're focusing on. And most of, pretty much all of these big hospitals, which we have some world-class veterinarians here in Thailand, all of them will help stray animals, when called upon. So
at least I feel like Thai people, they have a good heart, like good intention there.
Absolutely. And again, that's one of the reasons I've stayed here so long. Because there are a lot of cultures that are, much, I guess, antipathy. Towards animals, whereas that's not the case here at all. And so people have a lot of sympathy for animals, and so now what we're trying to develop is empathy, so people understand what these animals really mean, really need, and that it's okay to be stray. In most cases, stray animals can mean a lot of things. You've got feral animals, which basically survive without any influence from humans whatsoever. And then you've got, strays, we call them strays, that basically live off of human resources, although don't really interact with humans. And then you've got community animals. The majority of animals that we see in Bangkok, for example, are community animals. And they're cared for by communities, and we have to accept that that's their home. Not the stray animal population. We can't adopt our way out of this problem. There are not enough homes in the world.
I have to tell myself that.
There aren't. So it's not a problem that we can adopt our way out of. It may not even be a problem we can spay neuter our way out of, but we do have to accept that the community is their home, and what can we do to keep these animals in the community successfully? And that's really what PAWS Bangkok focuses on.
So now let's talk a little bit more about PAWS Bangkok itself. I saw on your Facebook that there's a lot of, let's say, handicapped cats as well.
Right now, yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about them, and how did they end up at PAWS Bangkok?
One of the things is, as I said, we really try to focus on taking care of the animals that need the help the most. And when you've got stray animals, that the ones that are really, cannot survive in the community any longer. And so we do see the animals that have been, splattered by a car, or, it happens, attacked by a dog. So we do, and we do end up with a lot of cats that have had brain trauma, and we end up with a lot of cats that have had orthopedic injuries, like, and are paralyzed, neurologic injuries, broken spines, that kind of thing. So we do have a lot. We actually are successful in placing them in homes sometimes. Right now, our population's a little bit high. We have a lot of them.
What's the percentage between normal
Oh,
cats and
the percentage.
disabled ones?
Oh, I mean, it's not even 10%.
That's not
Yeah,
too
5%.
bad.
But for example, a lot of the cats we have right now, I think 6 I counted, are paralyzed, and they're not able to use the toilet on their own. So we have to manually help them by
Yeah.
squeezing them, and that can be a barrier for some people to adoption. But at the same time, one thing I've realized is that Thai people are absolutely willing to take care of these cats, far more than Westerners might be. So yeah, we need to focus more. I mean, and again, it's just a few of us doing a lot of work. PAWS Bangkok is pretty much all volunteers. We have our Thai staff, our Thai veterinarians, but all the promotion and adoption, much of that is done by foreign volunteers, and some Thai volunteers. But so yeah, it's difficult to focus on getting the special needs cats adopted sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes we like having them around.
They're special in their
Yeah,
own
yeah.
way.
We have, one of our favorites is Cowley, who actually she can use the toilet, but she is paralyzed in her hind legs, and she, does everything that, a normal cat can do except for jump. So,
That's perfect. So
yeah,
there's
yeah.
cannot cause any havoc or anything.
Oh, well, she finds ways to cause havoc, but, we have Train Kitty, who's kind of our ambassador cat, and
Okay.
he's only got 2 right legs. He was hit by a train,
no.
2014 around Christmas time. And, yeah, I mean, and I, it's funny because a lot of foreigners gave me a lot of crap for wanting to, help this animal and not
Really?
just put him to sleep. I mean, two-legged cats it's not something you expect. I mean, we frequently will have three-legged cats, and they do fine. Three-legged dogs do fine. But 2 legs is another thing altogether. But he's fully functional. He jumps, he runs, he gets in fights with other cats. He loves to snuggle. He's often at our yoga sessions. He's really, and we take him to schools.
He's your
And
ambassador.
yeah, he's our ambassador. And but one thing that's also been nice is that I've actually lectured about him at an international conference,
Oh,
and
wow.
many some European vets came up to me afterwards, because it was in Europe. They were coming up to me afterwards and saying, I never thought a cat like this could survive, and I'm like, yeah, not only is he surviving, he's thriving. He has extremely good welfare. The only thing he can't really do is the food puzzles. You kind of need 2 paws.
Right. It's okay.
Yeah.
He can survive with other things.
Yeah, without the food puzzles.
Yeah.
But yeah, those aren't fair to him.
Well, that's great.
So
Proves them wrong about
yeah, I mean,
putting them down. I mean,
and I mean, I absolutely will euthanize animals. And there's a myth that Thai veterinarians won't do it. Some won't, but a lot of them will. But we have standards for it. We're not going to do it out of convenience to somebody. We're only going to do it when it's, end stage illness, when suffering is the only thing that can happen. And the truth is, a lot of these paralyzed or special needs cats, they have very good lives. And also cats that have the feline leukemia virus, they're very commonly put to sleep in other countries, just automatically, even if they're healthy or not. Whereas we don't do that. We have a special room, where so we can take these cats and we do get them adopted. But yeah, we only euthanize an animal that's truly suffering and cannot be helped.
So talking about adoption process.
Hmm.
So if someone walks in, let's say I walk into PAWS Bangkok,
Hmm.
I'm looking to adopt a cat.
Right.
What are the criterias that I have to fit in before I could adopt a cat there?
A lot of places will try to do a very thorough screening. Our process, we call it open adoptions, and there's a lot of research being done in the United States, especially towards open adoptions, and it turns out they work just as well. We do have a few criteria. We absolutely want to know that you will never ever let your cat out on a balcony, or keep open windows and high floors. Cats do fall off.
When you say high floor, it has to be higher than 2 floors, right?
Well, I mean, a cat can be seriously injured,
Even
coming
with
off
2 floors?
even with 2 floors. Letting your cat out on a second floor balcony in a house, that's one thing. But for condo residents, that's really what we're talking about. And the thing is, cats don't know that they're high up, and cats like to jump up onto ledges so they can
Yes.
kind of perch themselves. They like to be high up, and what happens is they'll jump up onto these very thin ledges and they'll just fall off.
Oh, makes me.
It's really bad, and it's hard for us to. I mean, and sometimes it can be hard for us to give up cats. When we adopt them out. Because we've put a lot of our heart and soul into helping these animals and finding them homes. Well, I don't want to adopt them out just for them to fall off a balcony and die. So we're very strict about the balcony rule. It's called high rise syndrome, and it is a thing, and we also want to make sure that people are, if they travel, that they're going to be able to take their animals with them. We really like to adopt to Thai families, permanent residents here. And
Which I'm surprised. I actually talked to you about this before we started, that I thought that adopting out to foreigners, in my perspective as a Thai, is better than adopting out to a Thai family. But you say that that's not true.
No, I think the Thai families are really good, with pet stewardship, as long as they have the knowledge, and that's truthfully no different than Westerners. Westerners may have more experience with animals, just keeping them in the home in general. It's a newer thing, pet ownership out here, but as long as the knowledge, is there. No, I really, almost prefer to adopt to families that live here, because that way I know that traveling will never be an issue,
That's true.
And, when we discuss with Thai families about, keeping your animals, keeping them safe, they listen to us.
Do you check up on them, or once you
No,
adopt,
no, it's
just
we like for people to get in touch with us, and we do have a lot of people that will tell us their stories, but we love that,
of course?
and every now and again when we have a really special one, I might send a message to see how they're doing.
I see.
But no, it doesn't actually improve, adoption success rates to do, post checking.
I see.
Again, and this is all research that's being done. Doing home checks, it doesn't help, and it also takes resources away
course.
from us to be able to do other things.
So how many cats do you adopt out per year on average?
The last few years, we've been adopting out about 300 a year.
Wow, that's a high number. What about during COVID?
Actually, we were lucky, and during COVID, we were still able to adopt out that number. In fact, 2020 was 330, which is, I think, our highest number yet.
Wow.
So,
That's like nearly every day for the whole year.
yeah. Although
That's
it comes
great.
in bursts, we might
Yeah.
have a weekend where we adopt out 10 cats.
Yeah.
But that's, I would like that to be, one cat a day. And
Well,
it
it
doesn't.
sounds like it when you put it that way. It's like, oh wow, it's like nearly.
It
a
doesn't
cat
always
every
work
day.
that way, though. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Keep positive is the only way.
Yeah.
But let's talk a bit more about your fundraising events. I see
Mhm.
that you have many fun workshops all the time.
Right.
Can you tell us more about that, and what kind of workshops do you do, and where do you get the ideas from?
Uh, truth be told, I can't take credit for most of this. This is my volunteers, who are amazing and do so many things. I mean, we do look to what other shelters in the United States may do to see what kind of events people are doing. And sometimes the ideas are ones we come up with on our own. And also like community members will say, hey, can I do a workshop at your cafe? Amy Dainer, who does a dot painting workshop, she had contacted us. I hope I pronounced her last name right, but she contacted us about doing these painting workshops at our cafe, which we've done quite successfully, and they're really popular. So not only do our volunteers reach out to the community comes to us too. So.
What about your cat yoga? It's a very popular workshop. I've seen it many places, the ads, and also a lot of people that I know attended before. So how did it start and how did it become this popular?
Actually, I have to credit Min at Yoga Teak for contacting us. Gosh, this was 2013, and she said that she'd like to do a cat yoga session, and we brought a ton of cats in and did yoga there, and so that's how it got started. And so since then we've, branched out, within our cafes, we've been using our cafe spaces to do yoga sessions. We even had one yoga teacher come in during COVID when nobody could go out to do yoga, but he did a live yoga session that you could watch and, join in, remotely, a Zoom yoga session during COVID. So, from our shelter. So yeah, it's very popular and we're hoping to expand a little bit, use some other places. We're hoping maybe one to do like full yoga days with different types of classes, but with cats.
That's fun. And how do the cats react? Just out of curiosity, do they just like flop on you, or they just get curious and then they tap you?
Some love it, and some, cats are very specific about the environments they want to be in, and cats don't always travel well. So some are just kind of like, I'm not interested in this, I want to hide. But the ones we try to select for yoga days are the ones that are usually really outgoing and really travel well. So the kittens especially, they'll usually be jumping on you. The adults, like Train Kitty, he usually likes to come and sit next to you on your mat.
So this is a problem that I haven't joined yet because I'm scared that if I go, I'll come back with like 3, 4, all this ones flop on me. I was like, okay, you're going home with me. The other one on top of me. I'm like, okay, we're going home, but I just can't.
Well, as I tell a lot of people, the kittens love you, but not just you. They do that with everybody. So you're not special.
I feel less special. But it's such a good activity. What if our viewers are interested? Can they join, and how can they join?
Follow us on Facebook or Instagram, where we announce our events.
What about volunteering? Are you open to the public as well?
Yes. Our volunteer programs are fairly small because we don't have the resources to basically administer the programs, although that changes all the time. So we don't currently have a volunteer coordinator. We have just a really remarkable group of women who are managing our cafe. Our cafe is run entirely on volunteer labor. But in terms of like volunteering as a shelter, we don't really have that level of organization right now. But but what we say is send us a message, and we try to get volunteers that can commit to it to come in and work with us at our cafe.
So just message you and then you'll get
Yeah,
back.
we even have a special page for called PAWS Bangkok Volunteers on
Hmm.
Facebook. So
That's great. So if anyone's interested or if it's qualified like you, right? Maybe someone who
yeah,
studied
when
vet tech, want to do something.
well, yeah, when we, if a qualified, a veterinary qualified wants to come in, we don't really work with foreign veterinarians
Mhm.
because uh, first we're not allowed to,
Yes.
but also it's important for us to work with the Thai veterinary
Mm,
community. Um, so we don't really have volunteer veterinarians coming over to work at
I
PAWS.
see.
Other organizations will do that, but that's not really how we're set up. The In some cases when vets are here for long term, as such as like as a trailing spouse,
Mhm.
we'll try to help them, work with Thai veterinarians, even on a volunteer basis, just so they, can keep their skills up, and stay involved. But
Mhm.
n- any if someone with veterinary skills wants to come volunteer, we'll take them. But or anybody with like managerial skills or uh, art skills, graphic design, that kind of thing. We always need help with that.
Yeah. Because basically you're run by volunteers only. How many regular staffs do you have at PAWS?
We have
These are all ties, right?
all ties,
Hmm.
5.
Wow,
Yeah.
and you've done so much and so many things. Like you have an event every weekend, I think, right? So far.
Yeah, right now we've been
Yeah.
doing it. We've been running our cafe every weekend. Uh, Unfortunately, we are losing our cafe space, but we'll find another space to
Mhm.
start in the new year,
Well, that's unfortunate. When is the last day of this?
December 10th and 11th.
Okay.
So we're gonna hopefully have a big blowout Christmas party. I believe we're doing cookie decoration on that date. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
The Because again, yeah, the volunteers have been really the ones who put the cafe together. I'll
Hmm.
take credit for it. No, I won't. But they deserve all the
Yeah.
credit
Yeah.
for making that happen. I just try to provide them with healthy cats
Mm.
and our overall philosophy. But yeah, no, we've done a lot with very little. So I should really say 5 plus me.
Yeah.
I'm not paid, but I do work full time plus
Yeah.
some. the
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we just and when we don't have the labor resources to do it, we just don't, and same with financial resources. When we are out of money, that means we can't help more
I
animals.
was about to ask, I'm sure many of our viewers like wonder, where do you get funding from? Because it's not cheap, especially if you're taking in disabled animals as well.
Hmm.
These costs like piled up, food, medical bills, and
Right.
all of that. So where is that source of money coming from?
Donations or
Wow.
my own pocket, but yeah, donations. um yeah, we are entirely funded by donations, and so we've got organizations. Some will donate a lot of food
Mm.
or donate a lot of cat sand, but also financial donations. We and again, if we are running out of money, those are animals that cases that we can't take.
Hmm.
So.
So there are cases that you have to say no.
Yes, a fair number, and that's actually, if you wanted to ask me what my biggest challenge is
Mhm.
saying no. We get 4 or 5 requests every day. I mean, and sometimes as many as 20
Per
requests every day
day.
per day.
Wow.
And we have to say no to a lot of them. In many cases, I don't feel so bad about it because it is people who know a stray cat and just want to get it off the street.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, that cat does have it does have a house, and that house is the street. But yeah, we try. So we have to triage. In terms of which need the help the most, which can we successfully help.
Hmm.
Also, when people are asking about kittens, for example, how many do we have currently? Are they getting adopted? Are they adoptable? If they're not accustomed to humans, they end up just staying in our shelter. One of our problems right now is that our shelter is, because we've had so many animals dumped at our front door. And we always get dumps, but the last year has been particularly bad, where we've had a lot of animals that are basically feral, dumped at our front door. And so, what can we do with these animals?
Do you take them in?
Oh, of course. If they're, I'm not going to, leave an animal in a plastic bag they'll put them in a plastic bag or a box and, put it in our trash can. Obviously we have to help those, but, a lot of these animals are animals that would really be better off out in the community. And so what happens is they have been taken out of their community homes or their street homes, have been put in our shelter jail and are now taking up space for animals that really, really need help. So
So how many cats do you have right now?
about 80. We have, I think, 70 in the shelter. Actually, no, so it would be about 90. 70 in the shelter and about 20 more in foster care.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty much that's what our capacity is. I don't really want to have more than that.
Which is very understandable.
Right,
Otherwise
right.
it will get out of hand. And
You can't, you get disease spreading, you get stressed out animals. It's really important for us to have animals not live in cages. We will have animals in cages. Every cat that comes in has a mandatory 2 weeks quarantine. And if we can't find a temporary home for them to do the quarantine in, then they have to stay in a cage. Then, ones that are getting medical treatment or recovering from spay-neuter surgery, then they'll be in cages. But we don't want animals living in cages. We want them in group housing. And you can't overcrowd group housing either. So, cats are really stressed out. Even more so than dogs. Cats are very stressed out by overcrowding. So we have to be really careful. There's some cases where I just can't say, no to an animal. Somebody will send us a message, but I always try to look, do we have the resources to help that animal, and can we make a good outcome for that animal? And so we're always, looking at that, trying to debate those, and it's not, it's not easy,
For sure. So lastly, my last question here for PAWS Bangkok. What would you say is the biggest achievement till date?
I wish I could point to just one. The biggest achievement to date is just staying open. Really.
Especially during COVID. I think during that time, donation must have been difficult, and hard.
Donations were hard. But interestingly, we did get a lot of support. I was actually stuck in Kuala Lumpur for nearly 7 months. I was just visiting a friend, just to get out of town for a few days, and the borders shut.
Jackpot time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And the borders shut, and I couldn't get back for 6 months. And luckily, my amazing volunteers, and we did hire more staff during that time to just came in. I was still managing everything from remotely. But yeah, I miss the cats, but
Of course.
COVID was definitely very trying, although I have to say, I think we actually handled it pretty well. As I said, the biggest challenge is just staying open. That's our accomplishment. We've done, we've rescued some cats from the cat meat trade. We've, helped out at Elephant Sanctuary. We've helped out with at we've helped the Department of Livestock Development in Sakon Nakhon. You know, we do small projects sometimes even out of Bangkok sometimes if we're asked, and we can do it. We've helped so many cats. And I mean, sometimes just seeing a cat that, was near death, but goes to live in, a home and is just so happy. Just these little successes are just as important to me as, the big overall success. So, there isn't just one accomplishment. I think there are just, I would rather have like consistent, lots of small accomplishments than, just say, oh, we had one big one. But
That's a great way to put it, actually. And thank you really for all that you do. And thank you for joining us today as well.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.